I'm sure we're kind of all a little tired talking about it, and yet we seem to be surrounded by perpetual change. As if it's not enough, we've gone through 2+ years of a pandemic, and it doesn't seem like the end is quite in sight. What is fascinating when we think about it is that there is truly realignment of the entire society, economy, everything that we are living through. There's disruptions, technological disruptions, shifts in behavior, even fashion is different. Who knew you could spend a full day working in yoga pants and it would somehow be acceptable? I always thought they were just for home pants. Stephen Windmuller, Professor Emeritus of Jewish Communal Studies, wrote in an article published this week in the Jewish Journal describing all of the change that we are experiencing and trying to provide a framework, a significant understanding of what we are going through. He said and described and said that this is dealing with contemporary change theory. In it, this theory states that when institutions are simultaneously overwhelmed by internal challenges and external realities, the change process is no longer systematized. Instead, disruptive changes alter the ability of organizations to effectively manage change process. What we see and what this means is that large institutions that we have come to rely on and trust are managing from behind. We see this not only in the Jewish sphere, but in larger institutions and in government. We see that Americans are going through this crazy thing, this great resignation of workers, and at the same time, we have worker shortages. We see that there's emergence of new organizations, of startups doing all sorts of innovative things, and that social media platforms are reorganizing how we at one point communicated and engaged with one another. There is a total re-engineering going forward. On top of that, we're experiencing the impact of inflations and the possibility of a bear market, the transformation of the financial sector, which we have been seeing quite like this since 2008, combined with the rise of e-commerce and entrepreneurial small business models coming to the foreground. When we discuss all of this change, I don't know about you, for me, it's a little bit overwhelming and daunting. The economic changes are just one aspect of society that's shifting. The demographics are also shifting. We are having conversations never once had before around issues of diversity and inclusion, encompassing but not limited to sexual orientation, race, religion, cancel or woke culture, depending on who you speak to, and gender identity. If you feel that you are in the wilderness, you're not alone. In the wilderness, when we look in the Bible, as we will in a few weeks, it is a place where different things happen. It's a strange place. Things that we never thought possible are all of the sudden possible. And I don't know about you, but for me, I have, believe me, been walking in the wilderness. It has been challenging and a blessing. There have been moments where it's been absolutely a blessing. Finding time to truly connect with my children, take a pause and slow down, embrace hobbies that I once put off to the side, like knitting. I'm still working on a scarf for Aiden. She'll eventually get it. She'll be thrilled. And yet other hobbies and things that, just couldn't find the time, and it's just difficult. We are all more alone and isolated. We are all suffering more from mental health challenges, and at times we feel them more than other times. Soon, though, we'll have abilities not yet known prior where it seemed only possible to occur in videos and sci-fi series where we can engage with each other in avatar or hologram form, where I learned recently of a scientist in China who attended an entire conference as a hologram. Shocking, I know. And I learned that that is not far away. Today we can visit our favorite Jewish institutions while wearing our pajamas on our couch. We can sit, as we're taught, at the feet of a rabbi, I mean the screen, and learn from world-renowned scholars while cooking dinner, or participate in meetings and play games from our front porch. How fun is that? But the truth is, how do we really embrace the sweeping change? And there's a story in the Talmud. Of course there's a story in the Talmud. Why wouldn't there be a story in the Talmud that describes such an ordeal? It goes like this. There was a rabbi, Rabbi Gamliel, who was traveling on a boat, and he saw a boat at the distance, and you wouldn't believe it. Waves came and overtook the boat at the distance, and he knew that Rabbi Akiva was on the boat, and he was desperately sad, thinking that his friend and contemporary was no longer going to be around to challenge him. Yet when he disembarked to dry land, who did he find? None other than Rabbi Akiva. And when he asked Akiva, how did this happen? Akiva said that he came and was in the waves, and a plank of the boat would come up, and he would ride on that plank. And when the waves would come forward, he would bend over, and each wave would wash over him. And he did this plank to plank, wave after wave, until he got to shore. What Rabbi Laura Geller teaches and reminds us is that the word plank is daf, which is a reference to the Talmud, or daf yomi, and that what navigated and helped Rabbi Akiva go through all of those waters wasn't necessarily the physical planks in front of him, but was really the study of Torah and Talmud. And that as each wave approached him, he didn't freak out and allow himself to be smacked in the face by the wave. Rather, he leaned into it and was more centered so that the wave could wash over him. He had what all pastoral counselors teach us we must have, a non-anxious presence. She teaches us, quote, I imagine him saying yes to each wave, riding it, even welcoming it. I imagine that he was also strengthened by his understanding that daf means page in Talmud. What ultimately she kept Akiva centered was his Torah study. And the truth is what keeps me centered also is studying Judaism, meditating, and going on walks. The storm that is in the wilderness, which surrounds all of us, which for some of us can feel like waves coming over us, almost making us feel as if we're drowning under the weight of it, is an opportunity to remember to be calm, to carry on. The truth is, according to Stephen Windmuller, we will not truly be able to comprehend the gravity of the situation that we are going through. We won't appreciate the structural changes for years. The cultural effects of the pandemic on our community, we're still contemplating and attempting to understand. The external influences, I don't know about you, but I am just now comprehending what they can mean for synagogue life and how they're driving change and altering communal behaviors. And when we deeply are honest with each other, we recognize that it's only a few years ago did we understand what the bubble in 2008 meant in our lives and how that shifted everything. The truth is, we need a little patience to understand the significance of the storm. The revolution is upon us, as it were, and we still need to breathe. As you understand and have figured out, the temple is not immune to the challenges that we are facing both as a society, Jewish or American. The cost of business is higher, membership is aging, as is our building. But we've got a few awesome strengths going for us. We have a young family group, a little Hebrew school that's coming along. We have more engagement on Zoom. We're developing an online and social media presence, forming small groups based either on interest or geography, expanding our young family group into small interest groups. We're having a lunch coming up in Houston County for all ages. If you live in Houston County, I encourage you to join. I'm excited to go back to Carlisle Place, hopefully to have lunch soon with Herb and have fun over there, and recognize that we are still taking and having a large impact on Macon-Bibb County. Yes, we are in the wilderness, a wilderness which pushes us, which challenges us. But I suggest we be a little bit like Rabbi Akiva. We face the waves with a smidgen of humility. We demand, the waves of course demand of us that we are creative and innovative, that we embrace the change with courage and faith. And I'll remind you, it's not like we haven't reinvented ourselves before. Stephen Windmuller reminds us that there are several trends to be aware of on the roadmap of what the wilderness could be. That there is more emergent conservative voices within the Jewish community, meaning we need to be inclusive of all voices. We're not all liberal Jews anymore. There's Jews from all walks of life who come and are part of us. Let's be sure that we honor all of them, no matter their political spectrum that they reside on. That there are shared threats that we face as a Jewish community. Unfortunately, there is more anti-Semitism and anti-Israel sentiments, and that geography matters. As Betty loves to remind us, Houston County is the fastest growing county in Georgia. Well, you're in luck to know that the fastest areas of growth in this country are the South, Southwest, and Northwest. So hopefully that works for our favor as the demographics continue to shift. Maybe we'll get more young families joining after all. So buckle up, buttercups. It's gonna be a fun ride. It'll be awesome on our way. But I don't know about you, I'm looking forward to riding some planks, studying some Talmud, enjoying the waves as we embrace the changes that are coming our way, have a little fun and a little humor, and see the joy that it can be. Shabbat Shalom.